Hey everyone, this is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Happy Friday, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at a very peculiar set of transits, not common at all, happening between Mercury and Mars. Now, these two planets will get together in a variety of different aspects. That's not uncommon, but seeing them get together in a series of aspects is. And the reason for that, we're going to take a look at today. And then we're going to give you some things to watch for. So the two planets are making a sextile right now, just to be clear. Mercury having recently turned direct in Leo, making a sextile to Mars in Libra. But it's actually the first of two. They're going to make two back-to-back sextiles. That doesn't happen all that often. So we're going to talk about that today. And then I'm going to give you a list of things to watch for given those four major areas of life. We'll talk about a 5 things to watch for list within the realm of psychology, relationships, work, and home and family, which kind of covers the bases and gives us a richer tapestry of images to work with, I hope. I've been enjoying this format recently, so I hope you will as well. Anyway, that's our agenda for today. Before we get into it, as always, remember to like and subscribe. It helps our channel grow immensely when you drop a comment, give us the thumbs up every day. If you watch regularly and you're not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing. It helps us grow as a business. It supports us, helps the algorithm find us, all of that good stuff. So, as always, you can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on the website, which is nightlightastrology.com. We have a goal to see if we can get to 100,000 subscribers on the channel by next summer. So we're working toward that goal, and every subscription helps. Really, thank you, everyone. Go over to the website, and if you missed it last night, there was a live talk on the 7th house. You can still pick up the recording, go to live talks, and you'll see the 7th house right there. That talk can be purchased as a recording after the live version is out. And if you missed it and you already purchased it, of course, you'll get the recording as well. So check that out. In September, next webinar will be on looking at Mercury and all of the planetary combinations with Mercury. What does Mercury look like when it's with Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter? We're going to go through all of the Mercury pairings. We're going to do that for Venus again in the fall. Really excited for that kind of new take on the webinar series. Something new we'll be adding in as we go along. The other thing, of course, is if you go to the events page, click on Immersive Retreat. Our brand new training program in retreat style will be taking place in June of 2026. It's called The Oracle Within, a training in the theory and practice of divinatory astrology. At the end of today's video, there is an additional informational video tagged on at the end to tell you all about the retreat, who it's for, what it includes, how to sign up. It went on sale this week. Spaces are limited. We're already filling up. So please check out the video at the end if you want to come study with us in a brand new program that complements all the other programs at Nightlight, and is also going to be really nice for us to actually spend time in person studying together. It's great to study online. It's a great technology we have available to study wherever you are in the world, but there's nothing like studying actually in person with a group of fellow students. So anyway, stick around at the end today to hear more about that. I hope to see some of you in Mexico next year. Alrighty, let's take a look at the real-time clock and get into these very interesting, very peculiar Mercury-Mars connections. So here is Mercury today, Friday, August 15th, making a little sextile to Mars in the sign of Libra. Now, I'm going to take this forward to Monday, and what I want you to notice is that they come together again on Monday. So if we go forward just a touch, we'll see that, actually, let me get this down to the minute. So the two planets are coming together. Here it is. Oh, we're close. Oh my gosh, we're going to get it. Here we go. So here's the two planets. This is about 1 in the morning Central Time, Monday, August 18th. There's 7 5 minutes, 7 5 minutes, so the sextile recurs. Let's bring this back to today, Friday, just so we can show you the difference. Today, and you know what? I'm actually going to eliminate everything from our view except for Mercury and Mars. Just gets a little easier on the eyes. At least for me it does. So let's take them all out. Okay, so here we are on Friday, and you can see that their connection is coming through as the day goes on. get it right up to speed. Oh, here they are. Okay, sorry. I just paused it because it was taking too long. So let's take a look at this again. So here we have this is actually Thursday night late. So it kind of comes through early morning, depending on where you're located. You can see Mercury and Mars connecting at 5 degrees and 5 minutes of Leo and Libra. And then if we just sort of gradually take this forward hour by hour, we notice that they're traveling very close together within just minutes of perfection all throughout the day today on Friday. And then again, they meet on Monday early in the morning. So that doesn't happen all the time. That's the point. And I apologize for the clunkiness of my display today. Um, but that connection between the two planets is not because Mercury moves so quickly. Typically, it will be the planet applying to whatever aspect it's making with Mars, and it makes that aspect, and then it keeps going. And it's unless it's changing speeds or directions, it's not likely to make a second aspect in close succession. So, because Mercury's speed is picking up right now after a retrograde, we have this rare instance where the two planets connect in close succession. When that happens, we can pay attention as symbolic thinkers to what that might mean. So, for example, when something happens and then it happens again, and there's a parallel between two events that happen in close succession, you will often see that happening around the time that two planets are dancing closely together, that the parallel movements of the planets close together in an aspect that occurs twice in close succession will mirror an event that has two parts to it. So, one thing you could watch for between now and Monday would be an event or a theme or a topic that has a kind of mirroring or echo effect, or where there's a part one and a part two. Another way of thinking about it that is, I guess, less literal would be to say that there is something that's ongoing, that's peaking and then gaining just a bit of distance and then peaking again, almost like two parts to the same event, rather than being two distinct events. Maybe it's just one event that has a little bit of a wave pattern going on, where it's like the drama rises and then comes down a little bit and then rises again. So you can watch for those kinds of developments, and that makes, when the planets are doing something like that, it's as though there's two people and they're having a conversation, and they take a bathroom break and they come back and they sit down and they keep sipping their coffee and the conversation continues. Whatever ways that we have of thinking about it, we're imagining two things getting together, briefly parting, and then coming back together again, and any way in which that may mirror our experiences over the next couple of days. So, and because that doesn't happen all that often with these two planets, there may be something a little bit special or rare or unique about the symbolism of what's unfolding this weekend. There's, when something astronomically is rather rare, one of the ways that that will translate into our experiences is that something a little bit exceptional is happening, something that doesn't have the same familiar showing in our experience. This is why, for example, when we have transits of planets to our birth charts, those transits aren't happening all of the time. And when they're happening, there's something very unique about our experiences. You get an activation from a Mars transit to a planet in your chart, and it's not the run-of-the-mill everyday experience. Something different is happening. So that's something exceptional. All astrological transits are in a way exceptional insofar as they never happen twice. Like there's never, this entire solar system is never in the exact same place twice before the sun burns out, right? So everything is unique. But in terms of those patterns and aspects that are, you can kind of set your watch to, they happen every year. That there's dynamics in the sky that we're all very familiar with. We all know what it feels like, when Venus and Saturn, Venus and Pluto get together. Okay, here we're in another path. I recognize this. So when we talk about something that's rare astrologically, what we mean is that we don't necessarily recognize the pattern. We don't go, oh yeah, this is a familiar archetypal recurrence. Even if the material is always new, there's something about the underlying template that's not. And that's the kind of thing we have to think about with this aspect, which is what makes it so interesting. This doesn't happen very often at all, that the two planets get together, briefly part, and then get back together at the typical speeds that they're moving. So something a little exceptional going on. And I think that's why I'm spending time laboring this, just to get us to think a little differently about the connection of these two planets as they're appearing. All right. Anyway, I think I've said enough about that to at least get us into the mindset of tracking this a little differently than we might otherwise. Like, what part one and part two, today through Monday, what's happening, or what's rising up into our awareness, and what is sort of unique or exceptional about the space of this weekend. New thoughts, new ideas, sparking new conversations, new debates, new dialogues, or things that we're confronting mentally, intellectually, conversationally, that we might not otherwise, or a part one and a part two of a conversation that maybe has been waiting to happen for a long time, and it's sort of rare that we're able to address something as directly and maybe constructively as we're finding ourselves able to do right now. These are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about. Now, all of that, I want to talk about Mercury and Mars meeting in this context through the lens of their sextile, and then through the lens of 4 different areas of life, and give you 5 things to watch for within those 4 different areas. I've been doing this a lot lately. So internal psychological dynamics, what am I feeling? How is this affecting me personally? What's the interior dialogue like? What am I experiencing on a personal or psychological level? Love and relationships. How does this manifest potentially in the realm of love and relationships? How about career or work? And then family dynamics. These cover the 4 angular house topics, which for most of us represent the areas of life that we're generally seeing or experiencing transits within, right? So regardless of where they're actually at in your chart, these are the areas of life that, we typically experience transits through. So this has been a kind of a fun way of doing things. Okay, so on that note, let me bring up my list. Let's start with internal and psychological dynamics. Let me get my notes up here. I also do have for you, I've got 5 movies at the end that might be interesting for Mercury-Mars contacts. Now, before I get into these, let me just say that a sextile between Mercury and Mars, sextiles being of the nature of Venus, tends to connect these two planets in ways that are more harmonious and constructive. So we're thinking about something like the rational intellect, communication, technology, and something like will, force, aggression, action, executive thinking, courage, assertiveness with Mars. When the 2 things come together harmoniously, it's a pretty nice pairing right now, honestly. So I would say we're more likely to see positive traits from this combination over the weekend that could be very constructive. The pairing of them might make for something a little surprising or a little off the beaten path, like not something we totally saw coming. A synchronicity kind of vibe behind this. But I will mention a few dark potentials to tag on with every section that we visit now as well. All right, so on the internal psychological level, I would watch for bursts of clear, executive, decisive thinking, and the ability to make courageous, bold decisions based on clear thinking or ideas that you feel you have to act on. So that's number 1. Number 2 would be a way of being, especially with Mars in Libra, a way to communicate something that's incisive, sharp, strong, convicted, but is still harmonious. And being able to maybe just articulating things within yourself or clarifying ideas, thoughts, feelings within yourself, and also finding the right strategic way of communicating those things. Number 3 to me would be problem solving, research, or energy for mentally demanding tasks. Just put those 2 things together constructively. Inside, I might be solving problems, investigating something, or being able to act under pressure mentally. Number 4 would be mental playfulness, where there's just wit, charm, grace, banter, playfulness, argumentation, and debate, but maybe with a softer, more elegant or refined social awareness. And then number 5 would be confidence, mental, intellectual, communicative confidence. So all kind of turnings of the jewel. Now, the dark side of this that could be applied really to any of the things I just said would be where impatience, restlessness, or impulsivity leads the way in terms of mental or intellectual energies, where you're maybe just there's a level of impulsivity and impatience that gets the best of you. Even if there is a good idea, you may want to sit with it and let it cook a bit, especially given the back-to-back aspects happening. Part 1, Friday, you find yourself saying something, acting on something impulsively. You feel that you have to refine it or take something back. It's hard to put the toothpaste back into the tube, so be careful of that since there's 2 parts of this, especially. And then maybe an emphasis on winning or dominating mentally, verbally, intellectually. Those would be shadows of the personal psychological side of this. So let's move to love and relationships, kind of flip into the 7th house realm. And I wonder about the most exciting part of this to me, because of the sextile of the nature of Venus, would be sort of flirtatious banter, playful, witty. Like I'm in love with you because you're interesting, you're thoughtful, you're smart, you're fun, you're playful. I like the banter. So like playful, witty, getting turned on by each other's conversations or thoughts. I would also say the kinds of debate or argumentation that are good and healthy and not so edgy that they can't be constructive. I would being able to address things with both grace and confront things with grace and like directness. I would think about partners being able to plan or coordinate things with a sense of balance and fairness. And I would also think about all of the opposite qualities of passive aggression, like directness and the courage and respect to be direct and forthcoming. So those are sort of 5 things bleeding into one another a little bit. But the shadow to me in relationships would be criticism, domination of mind, like I have to win, I have to be smarter than you, not listening and needing to be right, and maybe impulsive, mental, communicative qualities in relationships, sharp tongue, that kind of thing. All right, let's go to career or work. For me, if you're a business owner, you have a job, whatever it is you do, you work for a company. I love the idea of this being about new ideas, brainstorming, coming up with new approaches, innovation. So those are just kind of brain fires that could be really exciting. I would think about tact, diplomacy, and directness, being able to negotiate things. Being able to negotiate things because of tact and directness, like well balanced. I would think about being able to adapt quickly or on the move and having rapid ability to solve problems in job or workspace. I would think about clear delineations of power and responsibility, clear articulations of those things. And that can be really helpful, because if there's confusion about roles, boundaries, duties, the pecking order of things with a group of people all working on something, this could be very clarifying with that kind of any kind of confusion around something like that. I would also think about persuasiveness and being able to be charming, direct, aware of what sells, what works, what doesn't, aware of an audience. So clear plans, strategies, negotiations, sales tactics or techniques. I like it for that reason. Now, on the shadow side, I would think of, again, the need to dominate or win becoming problematic in the workplace, where competition and dominance mentally, intellectually, technologically could create ego struggles, power struggles, saying things and getting, foot and mouth syndrome. I said something I regret. And maybe excitement leading to overlooking details. Okay. Last but not least, family dynamics or inner life, private sphere of life, inner family, home, living environment. I would think about if there needs to be a diplomatic conversation between family members or people living together. This could be very helpful in addressing things that are complicated, that need a little tact and care, sensitivity, but directness. Very good for that, addressing things. If you are moving, relocating, rearranging, purging, organizing, designing, very helpful energy for smoothly enacting plans, visions, and anything to do with the plans or visions associated with the organization or structure of a home environment. I would also think about the potential for, in parenting, for example, to have teachable moments, let's call them. For a parent, the moment may be a teachable moment. For the child, as a parent, you may have a good opportunity to be that teacher. A lot of the time, it's through actions, not words, I think. But this might be one where words are effective. You could think of this as within a family constellation, it's a complex ecosystem of needs. How do I make my needs clear without becoming demanding? That balance, that grace, that diplomacy, that tact and directness, the courage to say, this is what I need. That's a very positive potential for this around home and family sphere of life. I would say one of the trickiest things about having a family for me is the coordination of events, schedules, needs, etc. So a very good energy for being thoughtful, careful, fast, strong decision making to balance and organize the complex ecosystem of a home and family. Now, the shadow potential here to me would be verbal combativeness and people who are louder or more dominant than others within the home or family. The feelings that are strong but private and therefore potentially problematic because we don't know how to bring them out or express them. And maybe this tendency to, I think, for example, of the classic relationship dynamic where I want to be listened to, I don't want my problem solved. This is a problem-solving transit, but if you need to be listened to or have space held for you, you may not like it that this astrological configuration mirrors someone who is all about trying to solve your problem rather than just listen. That might be a shadow as well. All right, well, those are 5 things to watch for in those 4 major areas of life, given mostly constructive connection between Mercury and Mars, the rational and executive, the will and the mind. Now, there are 5 movies that I did some research to find that I think nicely pair this energy together. When I was in an ethics class in college studying philosophy, I had to watch the movie 12 Angry Men. If you've never seen it, it's old school and it's all about argumentation and debate, trying to get down to the truth of a situation. And prejudice and bias and all sorts of things that can get in the way of being clear in our thinking, rational and fair in our thinking. It's a classic jury conversation. Mirrors the kind of internal dialogue and search for kind of equilibrium, balance, fairness, rational care for the situation, that happens internally, right? So if you've ever seen 12 Angry Men, it's a very good Mercury-Mars kind of movie to watch over the weekend. Another one that I really like that mirrors Mercury-Mars very well is Spotlight. It's a movie about journalism. I think it won an Oscar. I went and saw it at the theater when it came out. I was living in New York City, I believe, at the time. All about the search for truth and the care of Mercury and Mars for research and precision and accuracy and getting down to the objective truth. So when you think about investigative journalism, you really think about Mercury-Mars. When you think about Mercury-Mars, you think about the ability to be persuasive regardless of right and wrong. And especially with Mars and Libra, being charming, witty, smart, winning, but not necessarily being ethical, that could be something to look at. There's this movie that I showed to my students when I was teaching composition as a graduate assistant called Thank You for Smoking. And the reason I had students watch it because it was about argumentation and persuasiveness in speech and hence in our writing, and how to be aware of the line between being wise, smart, witty, charming, persuasive, but also potentially where's the line morally or ethically. And this is something to consider when you're learning how to be persuasive in your writing and speech as a young writer. So I use that movie. It's great Mercury-Mars combination if you've never seen Thank You for Smoking. Oppenheimer, I watched recently, and I think when it comes to research and questions about what constitutes a good idea and where is a good idea maybe not a morally good idea, there's ideas that have a lot of utility and usefulness, or that could get us ahead or get us something we want. But then the question about, is this actually good for humanity? Or, so Oppenheimer raises a lot of questions about discovery, ideas, research, technology, inventiveness, and questions about the ethical boundaries around those things. Obviously, we're talking about Oppenheimer here. But that was a good movie. I thought it was very interesting to learn about the history of some of all of that story in human history. Finally, The Imitation Game, which is another movie that has a lot to do with the mind and code cracking and stuff like that. I'm trying to remember who is in the image. What was his name? Benedict Cumberbatch? Is that? Let me just look it up. It was 2014. It was Benedict. Oh, come on. What was it? What's his name? Oh, was it Benedict Cumberbatch? I knew. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's his name. But anyway, this is it's a movie about decryption, if I remember correctly, with was it the Enigma or the decoding that happened in, I believe it was World War II. I saw this movie a long time ago in the theater when I was living in DC with Ashley. We went and saw it. But the reason that this came to my mind is because it's a good one when it comes to fast problem solving, decoding, decrypting, Hermes Mars, right? The pressure to get something right. Interesting. So anyway, those are all movies you could watch if you wanted a little dose of Mercury-Mars energy. There's lots of others that came to my mind, but I actually have like 6 others on a list right here. But those are the ones that I felt like I just narrow it down to 5. So because I have to have my list of 5. Anyway, I hope you're having a great week. I hope this gives you some useful things to think. Remember, interesting, today and Monday, we've got like bookends. This doesn't happen all that often. So what ends up being a little eccentric or unique about the connections between these archetypes over the weekend? I can't wait to hear your stories. So come back if something happens and drop us a comment. If you got a good story to share anytime, use the hashtag grab, tell us the transit, tell us your story, or email us your story in the transit, grabbed@nightlightastrology.com. I'm going to try to do a storytelling episode later this month, I hope. Catch up with some of the transits that you all have been sharing. So anyway, that's it. Hope you're having a good one. Stick around after I sign off to learn more about the retreat in Mexico next June. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. I'm really excited to tell you more about the Oracle Within, the retreat that we'll be hosting in Mexico in June of 2026. So this is a little informational video that I've made to answer all the questions that you might have about the retreat. In this video, I'm going to start by telling you more about what you will learn on the retreat, what the focus of our studies will be, and then I'm going to tell you about our daily format and sort of what day-to-day life will look like at this retreat center outside of the actual material we'll be studying. I'm going to then tell you who this retreat is ideal for, what kind of background you may want to have before coming along. And then finally, I'm going to tell you more about how you can register. And of course, I'll take you over to the actual retreat website page so that you know where all of the information is located. There's also a really rich FAQ section that will probably answer any further questions you may have. On that note, let's start with what will I learn? So, for a very long time, astrologers have talked about what astrology is. What is this? Is it some kind of karmic science? Is it a science of causal energies and influences? Is this actually scientific? Like, what order of knowing is astrology? If we say we can know something about reality, then how can we actually say that when it comes to astrology? These may seem like really deep, dense philosophical issues, but actually, they're at the heart of what it means to really deepen into astrology. To have an understanding of what this actually is so fundamental and so helpful. Throughout all of the programs that I teach at Nightlight, I, of course, talk at length about my belief that astrology is a form of divination, that this is a language of signs and omens, very much like the tarot or the I Ching or many other systems of symbolic divination from all around the planet. We're going to spend a lot of time on this retreat talking about what astrology is. From a historical and philosophical perspective, what is divination? What is divination, not just in this tradition, but all over the planet? What kind of things does a divinatory view of the cosmos assume about the nature of reality, about the nature of the soul, and what we're actually doing as practitioners when we practice astrology or when we study it or when we use it for ourselves? So, one of the teachers that I had that made a huge impact on me, and 12 years ago when Jupiter was last in Cancer, I hosted him for a retreat on astrology as a form of divination, is Jeffrey Cornelius. He wrote this book called The Moment of Astrology, Origins in Divination, which is, in my opinion, one of the best books on astrology ever written. This will be something like a preparatory textbook that a lot of students on the retreat I'll recommend read before you come to this course. Over the program for the course of a full week, in the mornings, we're going to be talking about the history, the metaphysics, the philosophy, the ancient mystics, and what they said about the nature of astrology itself. So we're going to think really deeply about what is astrology. Then in the afternoons, we're going to talk about how to connect with an oracle. Connecting with an oracle, connecting with astrology as a divinatory system, in other words, is about the marriage of intuition and being able to listen to the oracle speak while also utilizing the logic of craft. How do you marry those two things together? It's not something we take a lot of deliberate time to talk about as astrologers. So in the mornings, we're talking about history, philosophy, theory of astrology. In the afternoons, we're going to be talking about how to actually develop a living, vibrant relationship with an oracle so that it's informing how you approach the craft of a reading or how you approach the craft of astrology itself, if it's something that you maybe just use only for you in your own spiritual path. Either way, practitioners, hobby students are all welcome. So a lot of hands-on immersive work with charts, with live clients, with different systems of divination, and talking a lot about how to connect with an oracle experientially in our afternoons, where our mornings will be devoted to theory. It's about 30 to 40 hours worth of content that we'll be doing over the course of a week together, which means this is effectively like one of my advanced training programs condensed into a week. It's brand new material, brand new curriculum, doesn't appear anywhere else in the Nightlight programs. And yet, everything that this program includes is really a condensation of the underlying philosophy of astrology itself that is a part of all of the Nightlight programs and all of my work as a whole. And again, most of that was deeply inspired by the work of Jeffrey Cornelius, who's I consider him something of a mentor in my life. So that's a bit about what you will learn. If you have questions about what you will learn, you can feel free to email me for more details, info@nightlightastrology.com. Now, I want to talk about the format of the retreat. When you're on this retreat, first of all, you're in a beautiful sort of jungle beach location near Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, for a week, which means we every day will not just be about theory and experiential, immersive, oracular work, which I'm very excited about. I have a ton of really good curriculum written for us as a group to go through, but in the mornings, we're going to have the option of starting your morning with breath work, yoga, meditation. In the evenings, we'll probably cap our days off with a little bit of centering as well. So my wife, Ashley, who I ran a yoga studio with for a decade, will be with me leading daily meditation and yoga. She is an incredibly good yoga teacher, very grounded and very, wherever your level is at, there'll be something there for you. And that's optional as well. So every day you have a little meditation and yoga. There's healthy food that serves people if you're vegan, vegetarian, or eat meat or whatever. There's options for food. There's a beach. There's a pool. There's some jungle hikes available. So our days will be broken into periods of free time, periods of rest, and periods of focused learning with things like meditation and yoga as options that are there for everyone. We'll also have some other meaningful group exercises that we'll do that will be, again, about how do you connect with an oracle? How do you make a conversation with the oracle a daily part of your life? So that's something of the format that you can look forward to in this beautiful kind of oceanside retreat setting. More information on the website. I'll show you that in a second. Who is this for? Ideally, you are someone who has a background in traditional Hellenistic astrology already. Wherever that comes from, if it's my courses or not, I want people coming to this retreat to have some pretty good solid background in Hellenistic astrology already. Or if you're from within our programs, then as long as you are enrolled in the year one program, you don't have to have finished it. You just need to be at least enrolled in it. Then you would be more than welcome. Any alumni from any of our programs would be welcome. And again, people who have some serious background in traditional astrology already, just because I don't want people to come along with maybe a modern background, but zero understanding of Hellenistic. So that would be who I would recommend this for. Spaces are limited and we anticipate the retreat will fill up rather quickly. So I really recommend registering as soon as you can. You also have the early bird rates to help you save. Finally, how do I register? I'm going to take you over to the website and you will find that here, the website, you can find it under the events page. Go to Immersive Retreat, or under the courses, it's our new course called The Oracle Within. When you scroll down, you're going to see everything that the program includes, basically everything I've gone over, maybe a little bit more details and depth there, as well as a little personal note for me that I wrote about why this means so much to me. You'll learn more about Mar de Jade, which is the beautiful retreat center. You can check it out. You're going to book through us. So you don't book through the retreat center, you book through us, and then we take care of it. At the bottom, you're going to find registration options that will be available starting on August 11th. That's today. Right now, as I'm looking at this, we don't have the prices listed yet. It's still kind of under construction. But at the bottom, you'll find different available options for registering. The different options will include different room options, and there's different. So if you want a private room versus maybe sharing a room with someone we'll assign you with that's part of the group, or maybe even a small group dorm room where there's like 5 people are sharing a room and you're comfortable being with other students on the trip, stuff like that. So there'll be some options there for everyone. There's an early bird rate that'll be in effect until October, saves you a little bit of money off the cost. And then also all of the different room options that are available at different price tiers depending on and they go first come first serve in terms of, like, so there's some ocean view rooms. The people who book first will get the best. We just go best available first and just run it like that. So anyway, again, as you are looking over anything on the page, you have any questions, email us info@nightlightastrology.com. I hope that this has been helpful. I can't wait to have finally an immersive in-person training program in a beautiful location. It's nice to do things online, but I really love having in-person time available. And I know that you're going to also really enjoy working with Ashley during the evenings throughout the week. Ashley will also have some little workshops that she'll be offering as options for people that are part of your retreat package that will be on plant spirit medicine topics and how to use different plant teachers to work with different astrological signatures in the chart. You got a difficult Mars, work with this plant. You got a challenged Venus, try this plant. So there's going to be some really fun little add-ons around plant spirit medicine that Ashley, if you know her on my channel, she talks about plants often, will also lead. So anyway, that's it. That's your informational video. I hope that this was useful. Hope to see some of you on the retreat in Mexico next year. Take it easy, everyone.